Welcome back to Clash of Culture. Today we will preview the Ohio State Penn State game. This is the number 3 team versus the number 7 team. Both of them 6-0, 3-0 in conference. Both looking really good. Very excited about this game. This is a noon game at Ohio Stadium in the Horseshoe. So what's your thoughts? What's your early thoughts on this game, Stephen?
So those of you guys who were here yesterday, when we did the live show recapping last week's games, this was my hot take or bold take.
You had a couple of them.
But I think this game is going to be pretty good. I do favor Ohio State in this game, though. I'll give my score prediction in the live show on Friday. But I think Ohio State is a little bit more battle tested. When you look at the Notre Dame game, they showed up to play in that game on the road in a hostile environment. I think home field advantage is going to play a big part in this game. And I think the Ohio State defense is going to make it really tough on Drew Allar. I know he hasn't thrown an interception this year, but I think that's going to change come this week, especially if he's going to throw the ball around against this really talented secondary. And I think when it comes to Kyle McCord, obviously in that game against Notre Dame, he looks really good. I know it was shaky in the beginning of the year, but I expect him to have a big game this game. And this may be another hot take, but I think if he has a really good game this week, he can kind of enter himself into that Heisman discussion, especially if you're talking about a team that's undefeated at the end of the year, assuming that they beat Michigan and Ohio State. I'm just giving that as a scenario. But assuming that they beat Ohio State and Michigan State, beating Penn State and Michigan, I think, if he has, 30 touchdowns and 4 interceptions, kind of like the Stetson Bennett kind of season, I don't see a situation where he isn't in the running for the Heisman. Now, I know there's a lot of good quarterbacks out there with some gaudy numbers, but I don't think a lot of those guys are going to be undefeated by the end of the year. So even a guy like Drew Allar, I think if he's able to win this game and they go undefeated, I think he has to be in that discussion. Same with J.J. McCarthy. I think any undefeated quarterback at the end of the year who has respectable numbers is going to get that nod just because they led that team to an undefeated record. But I think this game is going to – I still favor Michigan. As far as the entire Big Ten, they're still my Big Ten winner. But I think this could kind of sway me one way or another, especially if Penn State wins big or Ohio State wins big, because obviously both these teams still have to play Michigan again or Michigan after this game. So this game goes a long way. I know we talked about earlier in the previews how Penn State feels like the little brother, but I think the gap is a lot closer now. I think I was on record saying that I wasn't a believer in this team. I still have to see something before I can really jump on that bandwagon. Kind of the same thing, the same problem I had with Texas. I wasn't a big fan of Texas, and then Texas beat Alabama, and that kind of, made me more of a believer in them. Obviously, they lost to Oklahoma, but they're still a good team. So same thing with Penn State. I think if they can keep this game close, they don't have to win the game, but if they can keep it close, respectable, then I think they'll kind of sway me more being a fan of them. And I'm not obviously a fan, but more of a believer. I guess I'd put it that way.
Yeah, so my biggest concern coming into this, and as you guys all know, I'm an Ohio State fan, is injuries. Emeka Egbuka sat out last week against Purdue. So did Travion Henderson to a point where I don't know what we were doing or what we were going to do at running back. So hopefully we have our full complement of players. And there is no knock to Penn State. Penn State I don't think, has allowed more than 13 points this season. In week 1, they allowed 15 to West Virginia. So the most points they've allowed in a game is 15. The most points Ohio State has allowed in a game is 17. So you got 2 great defensive teams. The Penn State running back, kind of running back by committee situation they have the talent to kind of gash Ohio State, especially if they kind of play power football. And we know Nick Singleton. So if they kind of play power running back, power football, I think what they're going to try to do is keep Drew out of bad situations, really kind of control the line of scrimmage, really throw out of play action. More out of play action than just lining up and trying to overpower, because I don't think athlete for athlete on the outside they can really match up with Ohio State. But again, with Singleton and Katron Allen, really just kind of control the line of scrimmage, run the ball well, and continue to move the chains, wear Ohio State down. I think this is going to be a lower scoring game because I think both teams are playing the best defense they will have played to this point in the season.
I'm very excited to see Kalen King against Marvin Harrison. Benjamin Morrison looked really good against him. Obviously, that game was kind of a weird game offensively for both teams. But I'm excited to see how good Kalen King can kind of fare against him. Do you know if Luka's playing?
So he's supposed to, or let me say there's hope that both Mbuka and Trevion Henderson play, but we'll see as this week goes on. Obviously, we're still early in the week.
I'm going to be honest. I think if Igbuka doesn't play, that is a massive hit. And I mean, when you look at having him as a threat out there, you can't kind of bracket one receiver. And I know you still have Fleming, so I mean, I know he's still a number one prospect or a number one recruit and stuff like that.
Number one recruit this year.
But when we look at college production, Igbuka and Harrison are obviously the 1 and 2 guys, really the 1A, 1B kind of guys. So if you take away one of those guys and you can bracket one because the other one's sitting out, I think that's going to give McCord hell. Now, I don't think Ohio State loses a game because of it, but I think it's definitely going to cause an issue. Because if you had both, like I said, you can't do that. We saw that in the Notre Dame game. Igbuka kind of had his way with the Notre Dame defense the last drive, putting him in position to win the game. Now, if you don't have him in the game against arguably your toughest test this year in Penn State, I mean, Penn State and Notre Dame, I think, are really very good teams. So I'm not going to say Penn State's for sure better than them, but Penn State is a tough team. You're without your second weapon on offense. I think it could be a real problem offensively for McCord. So the over-under is at 46. I feel like that's very low. I like the over on that.
I'd probably go over. I mean
that's you're talking about
23 a piece.
You're talking about like 10 points a quarter. That doesn't sound very accurate. And then Ohio State's a 4.5 point favorite. I feel like of all the previews we've done, obviously, I feel like I say this a lot, but this line seems like it's like spot on. Like I'm not comfortable betting Ohio State to cover the 4.5, and I'm not betting Penn State to cover either. So I feel like that line is really accurate. But I don't like the over-under. I would smash the over on that one. Just because I think there's going to be more points scored there. I know the Ohio State-Notre Dame game was lower scoring as well. But, I mean, when you look at these two teams, Ohio State is averaging 36 points a game, and Penn State is averaging – 1 second.
I know they just put up like 60.
They're averaging 44. So we're talking about, 80 points between both of them. I don't think you're going to get half of that scoring output in this game. I just don't see that happening. I know both teams have given up less points throughout the year, but realistically, Penn State hasn't played anybody with a pulse on offense. Their best opposing team is Iowa, and Iowa's offense is terrible. Obviously, Ohio State played Notre Dame, was able to hold them under a good amount of points. But other than that, I mean, the only other good offense they played was Maryland and Western Kentucky, and Western Kentucky is not even a Power 5 team. So I think when you look at offensively, both of these teams are playing against the best offenses they've played this year. Notre Dame has a good offense, but I think Penn State's offense is just as good or maybe a little bit better. So we'll just have to see. I'm looking forward to this game. I know who you're rolling with, obviously. I think Ohio State's going to win as well. But I think if Igbuka does not play, if by the time we do our live show Friday, if Igbuka is out, I may swing the other way, depending on the injuries, just because I think it's that big of a deal. And same way with Marvin Harrison. I think if you say Fleming is out, I don't care. No knock to Fleming, but he just isn't the same caliber as, two top 20 type draft prospects in Igbuka and Harrison. So we'll just have to see Friday during the live show. Do you have anything else before we kind of do the outro for this video?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I think I am more concerned about Trevion Henderson than Mbuka. If you look at Ohio State recruiting, we have Cardell Tate, we have Brandon Ennis. So we have other wide receivers. I think our running back room is not as deep as some of these other teams. I don't know what's going on with Mayan Williams or Dallin Hayden, who are Hayden played a little bit, really kind of got the bulk of the carries last week. But I think Trevion Henderson is our home run hitter. in the backfield, and we have to have him. Ibuka is big to the team, and I don't want to undermine what losing him would mean. But I think I am praying Travion Henderson plays.
Yeah, but it'll be a good game for sure. We're going to be previewing it more in depth this Friday during the live show. So if those of you guys who have not came to our live shows before, we're going to be live at 8 p.m. Eastern, previewing all of this week's top 25 games, talk about other college football storylines as well. So those of you guys who haven't been there before, please do us a favor, hit that notification bell so you guys don't miss out on that. It's always fun talking to you guys in the comment section. We will see you guys tomorrow during the Alabama-Tennessee video. Peace out.